Money, moolah, pesos, geld, dollar bills. We've all heard of terms like this. Those darn small coins and pieces of paper rule our life after all. However, I'm not here to teach you economics or even a philosophy lesson. I mean, I could. They are two of my favorite subjects, but not today. Because we are going to talk about certain enemies in the Super Mario games that are centered around the golden coins seen in the game. To be more specific, the coincoffer, although there are many other enemies like it. So let's find out how they evolved in terms of use, design, story, and gameplay. Now, all of this started quite a long time ago, because as you can imagine, money has been in the game since the beginning. The coins you collected were your points after all, and could even be used to get lives when you got your hands on 100 of them. And of course, Nintendo eventually started building around this stuff, making things like secret coin heavens, money bags you can obtain, and special collectibles. In some games, money was even so important that it could alter the ending of the game. One great example of this is Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land. Here you're doing your best to get all the treasures and money found in the levels to end up with a castle, because that's Wario's dream. However, at some point, Nintendo came up with the idea of creating an enemy based around money. Multiple ones, actually. And while the title of this video clearly says, coin coffers, it actually didn't start with them. Oh no. The first one was the money bag. These are enemies that appear in Super Mario 64, and are living money purses with all the bells and whistles. Now, two of them appear in Snowman's Land, and at first they take the form of a regular, usually unnoticeable, coin. But when Mario gets near one, it transforms into a purse-shaped creature that hops around, dealing damage when you come into contact with it. And defeating one of these earns the players a good amount of cash, 5 coins total, which is more than most enemies drop. Clearly these enemies are quite odd, being very different from most other foes seen in Super Mario 64. However, when you look at other Super Mario titles, you can see that enemies like this are quite common, and I tend to call them trap enemies. These are foes who don't charge at you or shoot stuff from a distance. Oh no. Instead, they sit and wait for you to come around, which is the perfect moment to strike. And this enemy does that as well, using the player's greed to lure them into this deadly trap, which could even be your end since coins give you health in this game. Overall, it was quite a good idea from Nintendo to add these. For years, players had noticed that coins are important and collecting them was a must. But now Nintendo started to create trap enemies around this valuable currency, and they would continue to do this. Because in New Super Mario Bros., the game which marked the revival of the 2D Super Mario franchise, these enemies return. Here they are found only in World 5-2 and World 6-3, and in order to defeat one, you must hit it with 6 fireballs, stomp it 3 times, throw a Koopa shell at it, or use a Mega Mushroom. And dealing damage to them and taking them out rewards you with coins, of course, just like the last game. However, when you look at them, you can see that their role in the game has changed a lot. They serve a different role now, because now they usually appear in areas with several pits. And that's because their new role is more of a mini-game. They now pop up when you come sort of close to them. And what they do is run, and you're supposed to hunt them down. And as you can imagine, the fact that there are pits in your way makes it harder to chase them. So all of a sudden, their role was very different. They won't surprise you anymore, but actually challenge you. The game's pacing picks up because of this enemy, instead of them popping out of nowhere and slowing you down potentially. And this is where their story ends, because for some reason they were replaced by a weird new creature known as the Pita Pita. These enemies appear in Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 and are similar to the money bags, but look more traditionally Japanese. They commonly appear on beaches and other sandy or dirt-filled areas, such as Deep Dark Galaxy or Starshine Beach Galaxy. But the interesting part is, they are actually invisible, only revealing their footprints on the sand. And they are only visible when Mario stands still, and will become invisible again if he moves. But you can still follow their footprints. And if you catch up to them and hit one with a spin, it becomes visible and remains dizzy for a few seconds. And then you can defeat them. And there are multiple ways of doing this, like jumping on their heads or shooting fireballs at them. And once they are defeated, they will give you 20 star bits, just like all the other money-inspired enemies. Well, I mean, this time it's star bits and not coins, and we would see them once again in the sequel, but here they are more rare, with only 2 of them being seen in Starshine Beach Galaxy. Now, one thing we notice with this type of money-inspired enemy is that it's a combination of what the money bag was in Super Mario 64 and New Super Mario Bros. And that's because they are both a surprise and a minigame rolled into one. Let me explain what I mean by this. When you first encounter them, you don't even know they are there, or you just saw one and it disappeared again, being some sort of surprise as well as a mystery. After this, you will most likely chase it until you finally caught it, being able to claim your prize. Now, while it isn't a trap enemy that strikes when you aren't looking, it still has that surprise element to an extent, because you can't always see it, and since it runs away, you still have to chase it, which is similar in a way to what the money bag does in New Super Mario Bros. So in theory, and even in practice, this enemy is a combination of both the first and second version of that enemy. And in my opinion, it worked! This enemy does something no other does, and it's hard to explain, to be honest. But I do like it more than the money bag. This enemy is the perfect combination of all the elements seen in that older enemy. However, the journey doesn't end here. Actually, this is where the video really begins. If you take the title literally, at least. Because the next step in the evolution of the money-themed enemies was the coincoffer, which is the most recent version. They first debuted in Super Mario 3D Land and react similar to the money bags as they attempt to run away from you. But some of them will hide under stones and in bushes, which is new behavior, sort of. Now in this game they contain 10 coins and hitting one of them causes it to drop a coin, while it also dazes it, and after 5 hits, it spits the rest of the coins out and is defeated. And depending on how you defeat it, the coins are dropped in different ways. Now when you look at these foes in Super Mario 3D Land, you can see that they are weak, not that surprising, and extremely slow when it's running away from you. In general, it's quite disappointing. It has nothing going for itself, to be honest. In my opinion, it's really boring. If you compare it to the last enemy we saw in Super Mario Galaxy, it's quite lazy and uninspired. I like the ideas and concepts of the Pita Pita a lot more, to be honest. And even in the next game we see them in, New Super Mario Bros. 2, nothing changed, and they remained a disappointment. However, when Super Mario 3D World came around the corner, things got a bit more interesting, to be honest. Because while they act the same, they are now invisible and hide in certain hidden areas of levels, and can be made slightly visible when touching them on the gamepad, and jumping on one of them will fully reveal it. So all of a sudden, Nintendo understood that these enemies were kind of, how do I say this nicely? Disappointing. And so they wanted to fix this and clearly refused to put in a lot of effort. And so they just took one of the abilities of the Pita Pita to spice things up. And I gotta say, it did the job. The enemy is still quite meh, and didn't really get any better compared to the older versions, but it's at least something. So what is next for them? Well, actually, they were seen in Super Mario Odyssey as well, and here they really got interesting. They appear in the Wooded and Sand Kingdom and retain their invisible ability from Super Mario 3D World. And the cool thing is, you can capture them now using Cappy, opening the door to a lot of possibilities. When captured, they act like question mark boxes when running around, or while standing still. But you can do something even cooler. You can also choose to spit out coins, which act as projectiles. And if you shake the Joy-Con, you spit 20 coins around in a circle. And surprisingly enough, in this game, coincoffers are now immune to normal jumps and are absolutely harmless. So clearly their role is extremely different now. It doesn't hurt you, and is not some sort of mini-game enemy that you need to catch or whatever. It is completely different from all the others we have seen in this video. Sure, it was still trying to hide from you, but it's different now. You need to find this enemy in order to use its coin shooting powers to unlock certain hidden moons, which can be really hard to find. Is a moon known as a treasure made from coins. Here you need to shoot a bunch of golden coins at a mysterious plant, and after shooting 1,000,000 of them, this plant will grow, and grow, and grow, until it blossoms into a wonderful power moon. Clearly this one is pretty cryptic and hard to find, and I gotta say it fits extremely well with the coincoffers. So I will say that they did something new and cool with this enemy, and I'm liking it. And I gotta say, I never knew about this moon either. Only when I started writing the script I found out that this was even in Super Mario Odyssey. And I think a lot of people have never even collected this moon. Well, unless they used some sort of guide. But if you didn't, then I will applaud you if you actually found it. However, this is where the story ends. We haven't seen them in any more games like the most recent one, Super Mario Maker 2. But maybe they will return when Super Mario Odyssey 2 is made. However, I guess we will have to wait and see. Be sure to check the videos in the upper right corner, subscribe and click the bell button, and leave a funny little comment.